pretty excited. I picked up a book called Above Top Secret a decade or probably a couple decades ago, who, in fact, the guy who bought me that book is actually in the house right now. You bought me that book, Bruce.
Hey, yeah, I remember that.
20 years ago.
Yeah,
Big, thick, red book.
Unbelievable. 20 years gone by.
Yep, and this book actually came out before that, so I'm interested to check out what's going on there. Very cool book. A History of the End of the World. Yuri Rubinsky and Ian Wiseman. Very interesting book. I mean, how many times in history have people said the world is ending? Get ready for Jesus, or whoever you subscribe to. All kinds of stories in here from all over the history of mankind of when the world is going to end. Unfortunately, this book is a little older, so the 2012 craze isn't in here, although there is some insight into the Mayan calendar end date. It's pretty interesting stuff. Another one, here's the Leslie Kane book. I can give you the exact title now. Generals, Pilots, and Government Officials Go on the Record, with a foreword by John Podesta. And I think he was on the Clinton administration, which makes this book pretty prolific. I'm very excited about that. Those are the books. I might just devote a section to a book, a ufological paranormal book review at some point in the future. It could be interesting. Should we take a break for a minute, guys?
I was just thinking you could call it the Unified Field Book Club.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That sounds good.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to take a little break and come right back. This is going to be a song right here by... I thought it would be very fitting for the show. It's called Politique by Alpha Yaya Diallo, with Michael Murphy being on, a political activist, journalist, and movie maker and shaker from Los Angeles, California, being on the program today. This is Politique, Alpha Yaya Diallo.
You know, where...
Welcome back to the Unified Field. I'm your host, Mr. Justin Brown. And I should probably clarify something here about MUFON for all you people who don't know so much about it. It was brought to light here by one of the entourage. I appreciate that. And I guess I should clear up maybe some questions that people have. MUFON is the Mutual UFO Network. I mentioned quickly in passing there when I talked about it, but it is the world's leading group for the study of UFOs and exopolitical data. Some people think they're a little bit too straight-laced, but they're a nuts and bolts organization. And they take reports, they have field investigators, and it's mostly a volunteer-driven thing with thousands of investigators all over the world. They put out something called the MUFON Journal, and you get that electronically, or you can get that in hard copy if you become a member. And I think you can actually just order the MUFON Journal and not become a member. I think when you become a member of MUFON, you have more access to files and information than the normal Joe does, and you get actually, discounts on some of the material, DVDs, books, events, things like that. And it allows you the opportunity to become a field investigator. You can pick up a handbook and be trained in that and how to handle cases scientifically without adding your own opinion, and be objective about everything, and help further on the world of ufology and exopolitics. Because I mentioned on a previous show, I know 2 accounts in my local area that probably have never been reported to MUFON. One in France from a guy who is the father of a son at my son's school, and a lady that lives across the street had a vision of a UFO hovering over the street. So there's probably a couple contributions I could make, and that's what you can do too. Go to the MUFON official website and become a member. We do have Canadian chapters, and our local representative, as I've mentioned in the past, is none other than Mr. Stanton T. Friedman, who I've had on the show.
So is MUFON, would it be MUFON.ca or .org?
I think the site is MUFON.com.
Okay.
I don't know off
sure.
the top of my head. I've got it bookmarked. But yeah. Anyway, do a Google and it'll come up.
Yeah. Great.
Definitely. So that's the MUFON stuff. Hopefully that clarifies things for you. And Mr. Alejandro Rojas of Open Minds Media used to be the, how can I put this? The main dude in charge of all of the public education about UFOs. So he'd, help clarify cases. I think he'd do some investigations, and he'd be like the middleman, the media representative, I think, for MUFON. Sorry, I'm chewing on a cough drop here. I think I'm coming down with something. Spit it out, I promise, at some point. So anyway, let's move on here. Speaking about MUFON, their international convention's coming up in July. That was a nice segue. I'm going to read you the little synopsis that they have, because they sum it up pretty good. They are excited to announce their 42nd annual MUFON Symposium. Our theme for 2011 is ET Contact, the Implications for Science and Society. And if you've been following the news as of late, over the last 2 years in particular, and if you want to go right down the microscope, this year, 2010, has been one of the biggest and profound years for the idea of UFOs being a real thing, with loads of data coming from a ton of experienced and educated individuals from all walks of life, but in particular, those who are in high government and civil standing. So it has been a huge year. This symposium is going to take place at the Hyatt Regency in Irvine, California, at a beautiful 4-diamond resort, the weekend of July 29th to 31st, 2011. They've got some special hotel rates, I think, for $89 per night, and you can hook up for 7 days to go to the whole thing. And so go to beautiful Southern California for an unforgettable symposium and experience. A few of the guests that are going to be there are Linda Moulton Howe, Story Musgrave, who was recently on a Paranormal 51 blog talk radio podcast. There's a plug for you. Jim Sparks will be there, Barbara Lamb, Stan Friedman, our hero, and Mr. Rich Dolan. He wrote some prolific works about UFOs. Huge volumes, 2 huge volumes of the history of UFO activity. So that's coming up. Contact in the Desert, June 3rd to 5th in Joshua Tree, California. It's a good year to be in California or near, Arizona and California with all of the movement going on out there. Of course, the IUFOC just took place in February. The Dream Symposium is what I'm now referring to it as. Contact in the Desert, June 3rd to 5th, is featuring Stan Romanek, who we've had on the program. Roger Lear and David Jacobs. Yvonne Smith, who has also been on the program, is going to be there. And more. There's going to be a sky watch with Mr. Romanek, drum circles, yoga and meditation, and nature walks, and so much more. Sign up, do a Google search for Contact in the Desert. I think that's put on by MUFON LA. So MUFON are movers and shakers. They make things happen. Michael Cremo has been confirmed for a future show on the Unified Field. I'll be interviewing him on April 16th for a broadcast coming up. And of course, if you don't know who he is, he wrote a book called Forbidden Archaeology, The Hidden History of the Human Race. And I've always been super intrigued with this whole idea. This book was first released in 1993 and quickly became an underground classic. Today, it's a bestseller with foreign editions in over 20 languages, presenting both accepted and anomalous scientific evidence, defying traditional ideas concerning human evolution. And what we're talking about here is archaeological evidence that does not fit into the current contemporary paradigm of the historical, chronological, geological record. We're finding ancient spark plugs in coal, which takes hundreds of thousands of years to form. The Antikythera machine underneath the ocean that was uncovered, I think it's from Greece, which is not that ancient, but it still leads to credibility that ancient computers existed, and therefore maybe there was some other global education or information system or network in place. We're talking about humans, human Homo sapiens skeletons existing in strata that go millions of years beyond Lucy. Millions of years. No one can explain this stuff. All kinds of incredible archaeological information and education in his book. It's going to be fascinating to talk to him because what he proposes is that there's an alternate version of history that's taking place. And for whatever reason, scientists don't want to look at the data because all the books have already been written. And if they have to rewrite them, then a lot of that credibility goes out the window. And no one likes to be embarrassed, even when it deals with the truth.
Well, that certainly sounds like it's going to be an interesting book.
It's already published, but it's going to be a fantastic interview, definitely.
Yeah, I'd like to get my hands on that one, too.
Well, yeah, you can probably get it from the UFO Unified Field Book Club.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to borrow it, you can sign it out to you in the library. I want to make a mention before I go. I've got so many stories, and it's already half an hour in. This is the kind of content we deliver here on Atlantic Canada's only paranormal radio broadcast. No one does what we do, bringing you the news and our version of the truth of a multi-existence, far beyond what they tell you. This is the Hogwarts School of Magic, everybody, and you're all invited to it. We're on iTunes now, so subscribe to the podcast. You can get all of the CKDU archives there now. 2 hours plus episodes. I think we're up to number 11 with the Honorable Paul Hellyer, the former Minister of National Defense, who joined us on a previous edition. Number Snake Eyes of Season 1 is there. And I'll put up some more. I think after that's Mr. Rojas, Mr. Schratt, Yvonne Smith, Michael Clary, Mike Murphy will be up there too, and I think a couple more that I may have not mentioned. Get us there. Also on iTunes is our Blog Talk Radio podcast, or blogcast, maybe you'd call it, that we do every other Sunday night, the day after our Saturday night CKDU show. It's our Stepping Stone platform show. We talk about what happened on the previous night. So tune in if you missed the show and get a synopsis. It's good stuff. You'll really enjoy that. We're also now on Blueberry, which is another site, kind of like a YouTube, MySpace sort of thing, so we can kind of expand our infiltration into the digital domain. Check us out on Blueberry if that's your thing. So like I said, yeah, we'll talk about the Michael Murphy wrap-up tomorrow night. Tune into Blog Talk, become a friend, subscribe. You'll get reminders in your email about everything going on with the show and when the show's coming on. Also, of course, you can always check us out at CKDU. You can go to Blog Talk Radio at blogspot.com, YouTube, MySpace, Twitter. You can follow to get all of your updates on who's coming up on the show and the latest and greatest from UFR. Blueberry, blah, 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 blah. Just do a Google search. You'll find out all about us. Okay. I think maybe It's always nice to do a little bit of musical breakup